It's a beautiful day. It's a Saturday afternoon. It's a bank holiday weekend. The only thing to do is to go for a pub crawl round Leytonstone, or more accurately, a lockdown pub crawl round Leytonstone. And the first pub is very close to where I live. It's just over here. The magnificent Heathcote Arms. Well, now it's technically called the Heathcote and Star. It's a great pub. I've been using that pub ever since I moved to the area. It's gone through a number of phases in its life, and now it's kind of a bit trendy. They serve great burgers. They don't do enough real ale for my liking, but I'm being a bit churlish. We're incredibly fortunate to even have this pub open. It was purchased by property developers a few years ago who wanted to turn it into flats. And thankfully, a pub company came along and saved the pub, which was a great day. In case you're watching this abroad somewhere and you're not aware, all the pubs in the UK have been closed since, I think it was the 21st of March, and we don't know when they're going to reopen. So, in a way, I'm really tormenting myself with this pub crawl around Leytonstone. Sad to see an empty pub like this. We'll be back in there at some point. So the Heathcote is on the site of a farm, Grove Farm. You can see marked on the maps up until the end of the 19th century. And apparently some of the buildings down the back there, or some fabric of the building, dates from the original farm. So the pubs that we're going to look at today seem to kind of date from two particular eras, really, with the exception of two pubs, the oldest one and the newest one. You get the pubs that were built when Leytonstone High Road kind of really developed as a coaching road, and they date from the 17th century. And then you've got the pubs that were built with the kind of the late Victorian expansion of the area, and the Heathcote kind of comes at the tail end of that, 1905, and our next pub dates from the 1880s. And we're going down Grove Green Road, which is one of the old roads of Leytonstone. The Northcote Arms here, on the corner of Grove Green Road and Francis Road, dates from 1886. It really is a really lovely building, isn't it? This has a kind of interesting past in that it was once the kind of hub of the Leytonstone artist community. As I've mentioned in previous videos, Leytonstone once had the largest community of artists of anywhere in Western Europe, linked to the houses that were along the course of what became the Link Road. A number of Turner Prize winning artists used to drink in that pub. In fact, the last time I was in there was about, I think it was 2015, when it had just come under new management, and I was in there with some of the artists who were kind of key players in that scene at the time. And Northcote now does really great pizza, which you can get in that kind of courtyard garden. I think it might be open for collection during the lockdown. My focus today isn't on the pubs that we've lost over the years, but on the pubs that have survived, and actually in most cases it's very windy today, as you can see. And not just the pubs that have survived, but the pubs that have actually thrived. Like the Northcote has really been thriving in recent years. They diversified in a number of ways. They do great pizza. I'm just going to lose the hat. They do great pizza. They also do drag nights on a Sunday. Got a good selection of ales and stuff. Very welcoming place for families. So we'll see different types of pubs around the area. Obviously, I think Waltham Forest as a borough has lost 50% of its pubs in recent years, which is sad. Colville Road, E11 here. And this is one of the roads that was demolished for the building of the Link Road. You can see the wall at the end of the street here where the rest of the road used to be. So we're going to turn off Grove Green Road now and cross the tube tracks not far from Leyton Station for our next stop on this lockdown pub crawl. So you can see the towers of Stratford down there and the velodrome. in the Olympic Park where we were a couple of weeks ago. And you've got the tube tracks running past St Patrick's Cemetery, the famous St Patrick's Cemetery. And St Patrick's Cemetery plays a role in the story of our next pub, which is just over the bridge here. St Patrick's is one of the notable cemeteries of London, particularly East London. It's famous for being the final resting place of one of the victims of Jack the Ripper, Mary Kelly. It's where a Mickey Rourke film was shot, I think A Prayer for the Dying, and there's this story that it was whilst filming there that a local fella approached Mickey Rourke and asked him to pay for a new headstone for Mary Kelly, which Mickey Rourke, who was famously generous, did do. Ian Sinclair, the famous writer, the great writer Ian Sinclair, who I've made videos with, he actually made a film about St Patrick's. I think in the 80s he made a series of films about, or it's one film about 3 cemeteries. St Pat's was one of them, and I was going to meet him, he was going to give me a copy of it, and then the lockdown happened, so I couldn't go over and get the VHS off him. So that's something to add to the list for after the lockdown. So if you're wondering why I'm not doing more on St Pat's now, it's because I've got something a bit more special lined up in the future. So we're turning here into Langthorne Road, obviously taking its name from Stratford Langthorne Abbey. Langthorne apparently meaning long thorn. I've talked about Langthorne Abbey in previous videos, and I'll link to them below. It was a Norman abbey. It became quite famous in the medieval world, and the abbey owned a lot of land in this area. So the Birkbeck Tavern got its licence in 1881 after a few years of failed applications, because the Catholic Church objected quite strongly. Even Cardinal Manning himself intervened due to the fact that it's very close to St Patrick's Cemetery. It's a pub now, very popular with the Leyton Orient fans, I believe. I haven't been in there for a few years. Last time I was in there, I think Hank Wangford was playing in there, the great British country music singer. It was run by Stephen Alley of What's Cooking for a little while. That's the last time I was there. If we were doing this pub crawl for real, I'd have to be drinking halves. I think if we weren't, I was doing pints, I think I'd be starting to feel it by now, right? So we've got a few pubs to go already, so you've got to pace yourself. We're going to go up North Birkbeck Road here, eventually end up on Leytonstone High Road. So Holly Down is a name you see going back in the area quite a long way. I think originally it's Holloway Down, but it goes back in the records into the Middle Ages.
The name appears to come from the Halliwell Priory estate, which was established in 1201. The name Holywell seems to be a reversion back to the original name. For a while it was known as Holloway Down.
Passing around the other side of St Patrick's Cemetery. Come out now onto Cathall Road, or some people call it Cat Hall. The original name I believe was Knaves Lane, and again it's one of the old thoroughfares of the area, again going back into the Middle Ages. There's a fantastic film from 1970 called Deep End that was filmed partly in the old swimming baths that were here. I believe the original swimming baths are on the side of the road where I'm stood now, where that park is behind me. That's the new leisure centre over there. Highly recommend looking at that film. We screened it at the Leytonstone pop-up cinema. It was great. We had people who came down who remembered it being filmed at the time. Stars Jenny Agutter. This is the beautiful Harrow Green Library. A wonderful bit of Art Deco in Leytonstone here. Sadly no longer a library. Closed a few years ago. So the Plow and Harrow here on Leytonstone High Road dates from 1651. 1651 apparently. And was built to service the growing traffic on the coaching road here. It's quite a notable live music venue actually. I think it's well known for its punk and ska music. Possibly a bit of heavy rock. They do a night called Sin Bin there, which I hear is excellent. I should give credit at this point to the brilliant Waltham Forest Oral History Project, who produced a brilliant document about the history of the pubs in Waltham Forest called Behind the Bar, and I'll link to that below. You can download the PDF from their website, and it's got an exhaustive history of the pubs in Waltham Forest, and it's got great sort of like oral history, anecdotes, people recollecting stories connected with the pubs, and there's some brilliant little vignettes there. If you're interested, I'll put the link below and have a look at that document, and great work by the Oral History Project. So we're just going to go around the side of Harrow Green to our next pub, which is another story of a pub coming back from the brink and being revived to great success. I should also mention as well, just over there is the wonderful noted Eel and Pie House, which is absolutely fantastic, a brilliant Leytonstone institution, and I had the eels in there and they're delicious. I have to say, these windy conditions are very challenging for filmmaking. Here we have the Leytonstone Tavern, previously the Woodhouse Tavern, and reopened a couple of years ago, and it's apparently really good. I've not been in since it's been reopened, but it looks great, and I've heard great things about it. Their food looks incredibly delicious, and I believe you can order takeaway during the lockdown. And this dates from 1865. I believe that room on the side was once used as a ballroom back in the day when they had dances. Now at this stage, I could go and buy a couple of pints of actual draft beer, I think, to take away from the Wanstead Tap, which is doing a takeaway service, the brilliant, amazing Wanstead Tap, where I've done some events in the past and always had an amazing time. It is in Waltham Forest, although pretty much anyone would probably call that area Forest Gate. Even so, technically it's Waltham Forest, so you could say it's Leytonstone. It's a little bit off the beaten track for me though, because I've got to get back by a certain time today. It's nearly 4 o'clock, and I've got to edit this video to get it online tomorrow. It's going to be online 24 hours from now, from shooting this now. So apologies to Dan if he's watching this. Please, if you live in the area, order some beer from the Wanstead Tap, the brilliant Wanstead Tap. I am going to get a pint though to take home and drink in the garden. I don't know where from, I don't know what yet. What do you think I'm going to get? What beer do you think I'm going to pick up at the end of this walk? This is another one of Leytonstone's landmarks here, the Jet Garage, which occupies the site of the house where Alfred Hitchcock was born, the grocers that his father kept. The famous Alfred Hitchcock, Leytonstone's most famous former resident, along with David Beckham. And next to the Jet Garage, look, there's this wonderful building here where they've decorated it with the birds from Alfred Hitchcock's film, and there's some birds on the pavement. If you feel like I'm skimming over some of the other history of the area, some of the other locations, that's because I've made something like 20 videos around Leytonstone. I'll link to a playlist below, so all of this is featured in previous videos, along with the Pie and Mash shop and Langthorne Park and Langthorne Hospital, and all those places have been quite well covered in previous videos, including a recent one I did further up the high road here. So today I just wanted to focus on the pubs, to keep our mind on the task at hand, the lockdown pub crawl. But we're going past the Leytonstone fire station. This is a brand new fire station. It's great, isn't it? Thinking of my friend Lee, the fireman. And next to the fire station we have the Bell. Dates from 1720, would you believe? This always used to be some people's favourite pub in the area, actually. I used to go in there to watch the football. Haven't been in there for a few years. They didn't really have any real ale last time I was in there. I'm sure they've rectified that now. This is a really beautiful building, isn't it? Now the Artifacto tattoo studio, of which I hear good things. As we covered in my previous kind of lockdown Leytonstone walk, this was a pub called Lincoln's, and before that the Elms, but now no more. So this is fantastic. This was a gym And they removed the signage. You can see the old ghost sign has been revealed. Ashton's Depositories, second-hand furniture antiques. How wonderful. Ah, the magnificent Red Lion. Another old coaching inn, dating from 1670, would you believe? I did speak quite extensively about this in a recent video, so I don't want to repeat too much of that. Like I say, it was used for Masonic meetings, for legendary rock gigs. A number of famous bands played there early in their careers. It's my favourite pub in the area. And there's a number of reasons why it's my favourite pub. A, it's a beautiful building, right? Firstly. Secondly, they do an amazing selection of beer. It's a great atmosphere in there, it's a great vibe. You get the whole community go to the Red Lion, you get a real cross-section. And the staff in there are lovely. They're always lovely, all of them. You always feel welcome when you walk in there. So it's kind of what you need when you go to the pub. You know, you go there to relax and unwind. It's kind of home from home. So you want to feel welcome. You want to be greeted by a smiling face. And they always do a fantastic job in there. I saw a member of the staff the other day, and it was really lovely to see them. And I can't wait to get back in the Red Lion. I'm not saying other pubs in the area don't possess those qualities, but the Red Lion has them all, and has them all in abundance. I would definitely be 3 sheets to the wind if we were doing this pub crawl in real time, in real life with alcohol, regardless if I was drinking halves or not. The Byrds, or the Crown as it was originally known, another coaching inn dating from 1720. It's one of the important old pubs of Leytonstone. Recently revived as the Byrds. It's been called so many different things over the years. It was the Sheep Walk when I first moved here. Then it was Tommy Flynn's, and then it was the Crown again before it was the Byrds. And they used to host What's Cooking there when I first moved there, the wonderful What's Cooking, country fried rocking music. And it's a really good pub now, really good selection of craft ale. I believe the food is good, but I've never eaten there. And the staff in there are friendly as well. It's a good place to go. Would you believe we've still got more pubs on our lockdown pub crawl around Leytonstone, and we won't even do all of the pubs. Behind all that scaffolding there is the Walnut Tree, the Wetherspoons pub. Dates from 1997, although there was a much older building on the site. As you can imagine, that's a place, you know, that I frequent. My favourite time in the Wetherspoons is between 11 and midnight on a Sunday when all the other pubs in the area are shut. The people you find in there, I call them the Leytonstone heroes. The people going up to the bar at 5 to midnight on a Sunday to get that last pint. They're the real fabric of society. So we'll just turn down this little side road here, little country lane into the conservation area to go to what is a lot of people's favourite pub in the area. So this is the North Star. I didn't look the date up. I'm going to guess and say it's mid-19th century. And they're actually doing a draft beer takeaway. But you've got to have a container, which I sadly don't have with me. Otherwise I could carry away a couple of pints of draft beer. And the North Star is a very popular pub. A lot of people like the North Star, particularly people that kind of grew up in the area. I think this is the pub for Leytonstoners by birth. This is Leytonstone's little kind of conservation area here around Browning Road. A series of old mid-19th century cottages. Kind of gives the North Star that villagey vibe. It's great to see people getting their milk their milk carts filled up with beer. I wish I knew. Could have brought something along. You have to have your own container. So we've still got 3 more pubs to go. We've got Leytonstone's most famous pub. We've got also Leytonstone's newest pub at the end. So here's the Green Man, Leytonstone's most famous pub. Dates from 1660 apparently, but I have a feeling there was a pub here before that because I think it predates the Plow and Harrow. I think this is the original coaching inn, right at the end of the coaching road before it entered the forest. It's got quite a colourful history associated with the famous highwayman Dick Turpin, who was said to have had a secret tunnel which led from the Green Man underneath the roundabout into the forest so he could escape. Dick Turpin, of course, was from Glasgow, so it's possibly a true story. I've finished many a great night out around Leytonstone in the Lunar Lounge. Wonderful music venue, 7 nights a week. Had some great nights in there. Suja's a fantastic bloke. So the final stop on our lockdown pub called round Leytonstone. I suppose not technically speaking a pub, it's the newest addition. Brook it's called, a wonderful little place. Great people behind it. They serve a great range of craft beers. It only actually opened about 3 weeks before the lockdown, so they just got going. It was proving really popular and they've had to close up. But hopefully they'll be back up and running very shortly. Of course, I just love the fact that it's taken its name from Leytonstone's Lost River, the Brook, which runs just down the bottom of the hill here in Drayton Road. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this lockdown pub crawl around Leytonstone. Hope you're not too tipsy. I'm just about standing up and walking. I've got my beer, not from Sainsbury's, from the there's like a kind of, just normal grocery shop, local grocery shop on Leytonstone High Road there that has an amazing selection of ale. So I've got a few ales to drink in the garden later. I'll show you those in the credits. Hope you're still staying safe and well and sane, keeping it all together. And as always, I'll see you on the next walk, wherever that may be.